What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be working on the Stripe sample that we have been iterating on so far for collecting recurring payments with Stripe billing. So we've made a lot of progress. We're able to sort of like start a subscription, pick a plan, activate that by confirming the payment intent client side. We set up canceling and updating payment method in the last episode. And so today what I wanted to do was just record hopefully a shorter episode where we just implement the ability to change a plan. And so right here we have our account view and we have this link that is a to-do. And it doesn't actually do anything yet. So I had a couple ideas. One, I'd like to probably make it so that we can see the existing payment method, like at least the last four for the payment method, and then make this next invoice look like a date. But then also this change plan link should go to a new page called like changeplan.html with these same query string parameters. And then what we can do is present the preview using the upcoming invoice API. We can present a preview of what that change might look like. Okay, so I've got this up and running here, and the first thing I want to do is go update the link and make like some new pages. So I'm going to go back up into the client and add a change plan.html. Now this is a little bit confusing because the old like before prices and products came out, we used to call the plans plan. And so we're like, when I say change plan here, I mean sort of like change the pricing level, not necessarily change plan, because we're going to be using the new price objects within Stripe. So we've got, okay, so what do we want to do? We want to have a change plan.js file that accompanies this change plan.html. And that'll be here, change plan.js. Actually, we'll just use the root. And then what else do we want? Remember how many of these things we had on the other page. I am not sure if we're going to need Stripe. Yeah, we probably, well, let's see. Are we going to need Stripe.js? I don't think so, because we're just going to be making a post request with the new plan back to the server. Okay, so let's see. I don't want to be, yeah, okay, so this is change plan. All right, so right now our pricing page, we have this prices page, which has a really simple view for selecting a plan, right? And so rather than just kind of like trying to figure out a way to abstract this away, I think what it makes most sense is just to copy and paste it, right? Like the change plan view is going to be pretty similar because we're going to want people to select a new plan. But instead of saying select plan for both views, we probably want it to show like which plan is currently selected, and then maybe even like a preview of the invoice if they were to change their plan. So let's see if we can do that. So how do we want to do this? So we've got that. Okay, so on the account page, we should, right, yeah. So on the account page here, we have this button, this change plan BTN, which right now does nothing. And in order to make that do something, we need to add this button at the bottom. So this is going to be like the change plan BTN. Change plan BTN. And when that's clicked, we want to go to the change plan BTN. We're going to go to the change plan HTML page. And when we get to that page, it should show us this stuff here. So let me open up a new tab here. Subscription use cases 2, and we're in the fixed price one. We want to go in the server. We want to go to Ruby. All right, Ruby server. Fire this back up. Okay, so we're going now. Yeah, so let me know if you have any questions or are interested in trying out the new beta, right? We have quite a few folks already participating in the beta, but if you're curious about the beta that we're talking about here, happy to chat about that. Okay, so something didn't work. Account.html, change plan BTN is the ID, change plan. All right, and then in account.js, we have change plan BTN, change plan BTN. Change plan, add event listener. Okay, so what's going on here? When I click on this, I should be getting into here. Am I not? Why am I not? Okay, we did get into there. Okay, params, switch to change plan.html, play. Okay, so it did work. Okay. All right, so we are now seeing this same UI as the prices UI. But right now, what we probably want to do is like on the change plan page, since we know the subscription ID, we should show which plan is selected already or which price is selected already. So let's do some of that. So we have our price picker and we have this select plan. Let's see. Maybe we should just have like a div or something that goes around each plan. Basic. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out a way that we can like just show whether it's selected or not. Maybe we just say, we'll put like a span. ID is like basic, current basic or something. And then current premium. And from the server, we can fetch and say like, if the plan is currently basic, then show like currently, like this is your current plan. If it's premium, then we'll put in current there. And then for our select button, maybe we disable the select button if we're already on basic, and then we can disable the premium if we're already on premium. So let's play around with that for a little bit. So in our change plan thing here, I can't remember if I've been making ifs elsewhere. Let's see. Cancel. No. Okay. Never mind. Let's just do grab reference to the. Actually, before we do that, let's first, using the query string params, let's fetch the subscription so that we can inspect it and know which plan we are currently on. So, or like which plan level. So let's say like let current plan, and then we want to say fetch. And I think we can just say, we want to retrieve the subscription. So the subscription on the server, I think we have a route just to retrieve the subscription. Yeah, so it's just subscription and we pass in subscription ID. So subscription and subscription ID equals, and then we'll just use this thing. So from the query string params, we want the subscription ID, and then this is going to be subscription ID, just like that. Okay. And then once we have fetched the subscription, we should try to find what the current items on subscription are and what the current plan is, or like the current plan level is on those. So let's do this. Let's say and we want to say, yeah, console.log subscription. And I think it's going to be something like subscription dot items dot data 0 dot price dot ID or similar. The other thing that's odd about this is that I don't think we are storing premium or basic on the price ID. So let's see. Refresh. So we're getting back. Okay, so right, we this is resp. We are being consistent about our responses always being nested. So okay, so now we're getting back the right. So we see the price ID here, but this makes it a little bit challenging to work with because the price ID, like the translation between the price ID and our concept of like basic versus premium is stored in the environment variables. Like the mapping between this price ID and it's like whether or not it's basic or premium is stored in the environment variables. So we are in a little bit of a pickle in terms of showing the right stuff here. And so what I think might make the most sense is to create the price with a lookup key. Like if I was building this in practice, I would use the lookup key and I would set the lookup key to basic or the lookup key to premium. And I think we might want to do that. I think we might want to recommend that the price is created with a lookup key from the README, but I don't know if everyone is going to have a lookup key on their price. So this becomes a little bit challenging. So that's like, because that's sort of a best practice, I think that's what we might want to do. So how do we do this? What do we want to do? Also, if someone already has that lookup key on another price that they don't want to use, then they're kind of stuck. So a naive way we could do it is based on the unit amount. I think that's not the greatest way. Another way we could do this is like when we retrieve the subscription on the server, we could return both the subscription and separately the plan that we're on for the subscription. So I think maybe we should just do that. So like when we retrieve the subscription, we can look up the like we can reverse look up the environment variable for that price ID. So like I think right here we want to say like find or return the like plan level for a given price on the subscription, right? So like in the environment variables here, we're going to have something that says like basic, and its value is going to be the ID of the price. So here we have a price ID. And so instead of returning the price ID, we want to return the subscription. But in addition to the subscription, I think we also want to return something like plan, and this being basic, so that we can use this string on the client to know which plan we're on. The other alternative would be that when we're doing this config route, we could return the publishable key. We could also return maybe, for instance, like basic is the end basic and premium is end premium. That way on the client, we can use this config endpoint. We can just like fetch config, and then we can store the mapping of basic and premium on the client. Again, not something I'm super pumped about, and really in practice, I would use lookup keys. So I'm leaning towards using lookup keys here. But that does add to how much you need to know about the setup of the sample. So what do we do? Yeah, I think this is going to be the best approach for now. It's just to pass these forward with config. So let's do that. That way we can just like fetch the config, and then separately we can just fetch the subscription, and then we can find the mapping between the prices and their sort of label on the client. Okay, so maybe we're going to also say like let prices or price mapping, plan mapping. Plans, sure. Yeah, let's return this nested so that we have. Okay, so I'm also wondering if we want to send back both. Like it would be super convenient if we just had like end basic points at basic. That way we can do both mappings. So that on the client, we have sort of both options we could work with. And then here we can just say something like, when this promise resolves, the data will have an attribute called plans. And we can say plans equals data.plans. And this should populate with our price mapping. I refresh the page here and go to the change plan source. And we're fetching this. So if we refresh, then data.plans is undefined because I need to restart the server. And refresh again. And let's see. So refresh. Data.plans has, okay, so the top two are basic, points at the basic price. The next one is premium, points at the premium price. And then, oh, I messed up this part. So this should be premium goes to premium. Okay, and then if we refresh, I got to restart the server. This should be right. Okay, so now we should have access to plans. Then separately, we're going to fetch the subscription. And then what are we going to do then? So then we are going to have the current, maybe we should say a current price ID, and then just prices. And then we'll make this prices. Prices. And then after we have those prices, down here we can say like current price ID is equal to resp.subscription.items.data 0.price.id. And so now, given the current price ID and the prices, we can have like a function that says like, wow, function get current price, and it's given a price ID, get current price name maybe, and this returns just prices at price ID. Right, because this prices is going to be a mapping where one of the keys is an ID for a price. So we should be able to call get current price ID or get current price name. And we shouldn't actually need to pass this in because we have current price ID. Okay, so if we say get current price name, that should give us back the current price. Okay, so this subscription we think to be on the basic plan. So if we retrieve the subscription, in fact, like we can look here at the data. Oh, actually, yeah, if we just put a breakpoint here, and if we look at the data that's returned, and we look at the items and the first items, prices, and the first item's prices value is $5. So we know that really is the basic plan, which is great. So the next thing that we need to do is now we can use this get current price name in order to like display things on our page. So I think because we need to like fetch the config and fetch this subscription stuff, this kind of feels like it's part of some initial call, right? And then separately, after both of those have returned successfully, we need to then run some logic to update the page. So I think I might just do like fetch config and then fetch the subscription because because subscription is making an API call, this one will always like take a little bit longer, but I don't think we want to depend on that. So maybe we do config, we fetch config, and then we fetch the subscription, and then we can update our page, like update the rendering of our page. So let's do that by moving two of these up here. So we're going to say like, step one is like fetch price mapping. Step two is fetch subscription. And then step 3 is going to be like update the UI. So here we want to like display current price. And we'll make a function down here, function display current price, which will say like current price is equal to get current price name. And then what did we make in the UI again? So change plan. So now we want us to just, this is all just to like show which plan is already selected. So we want to maybe say like, we want to find the span where the current price span, which is going to be current dash and then the price name. Just say name or price. Yeah, price. Okay, so current dash price, and then we want to say like current price span dot inner text equal to like current or something. And so if we refresh the page, then we see, okay, cool. So then we do see this current thing was highlighted. That's great. That's basically like kind of just showing us which one is current. And then we should disable this select button also. So we can say like current price select button is going to be this price dash BTN. That matches like basic BTN or premium BTN. And what we want to do is we want to say current price select BTN dot, how do we disable button with vanilla JS? I think it's just like set disabled true or something. Disabled equals true. Does that not work? This is the question, not the answer. Element, can I really just say disabled equals true? Let's see. Refresh the page. Hey, okay, cool. Yeah, it was just that easy. All right, so now we know that this is current. This is our current plan. We want to make it so that we can select this plan. And in order to select that plan, or before we tell people to select that plan, I think we might want to present a upcoming invoice or like an example invoice to preview what it would cost to change to that plan. So right now, if you're on basic and you want to go to premium, premium is $15 a month, but maybe you are not prorating, so you have to pay 15, or maybe you are prorating, meaning you've just paid $5 yesterday, so today you would pay 10, or maybe you paid $5 15 days ago, so you actually only need to pay like $12.50 or something like that. So in order to do that, I think below premium, we should show the preview of an invoice. And so there is an API endpoint for previewing an upcoming invoice. Let's see. So let's take a look at the API reference, like the full API reference, and just see what it's like to retrieve an upcoming invoice. So we can retrieve an individual invoice, but we can also retrieve an upcoming invoice here. And so we're working in Ruby, and I'll make this a little bit bigger because it's probably hard to read. And so the way it works is we can pass in the ID of the customer, but we can also pass in a few other things. So in this case, we want to pass probably the subscription because we know the ID of the subscription that's going to change. And then we also know the invoice items are going to be updated to reflect this new price that we are considering changing to. So the invoice items, like the price on the invoice items, should be the other price, not the price that we have already. So if we're already on basic, then we want to preview it with the upcoming. We want to preview the upcoming invoice with the new price. We can also set some things like proration behavior and when we want it to prorate and a number of other things. Okay, So let's take a look at that. Actually, what is this? Right. Okay. So, okay. Yes. 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 So invoice items is going to be for that specific upcoming invoice. Subscription items is going to be for changing that subscription with an attached price. So we want to pass subscription items with the price ID. I think we might already have this endpoint set up. So let's take a look. From the old sample, I think we had retrieve upcoming invoice. Great. Okay. So in this sample, we are passing the customer ID, the subscription ID, and the subscription items where we are like deleting the old one and then adding the new one. We don't need this deleted false thing. And I think, in fact, we could just change this to have the ID being the old ID and then deleting that and setting the price to the updated price. Okay. So let's clean this up just a little bit. And let's see. The new price ID in this case is going to be just the other price. But it looks like we do need to pass that in, the new price ID. So retrieve upcoming invoice. All right, so from the front end, what I think we should do is pass down the subscription ID, customer ID. In fact, like I don't think we need the customer ID if we have the subscription ID. And since we're retrieving the subscription in order to get the ID of the subscription item, I think we can just use subscription.id here. And then for this new price, the new price ID, this is going to be like basic or something. So let's make sure we upcase that. And then we should get back the invoice. And the invoice will allow us to display like the price of the upcoming thing. All right, so let's give it a try. So retrieve upcoming invoice. I think I'm just going to change this to upcoming invoice. Preview invoice. Okay. So we want to preview the invoice. And the reason that we want to change it from retrieve upcoming invoice to preview invoice is that retrieving the upcoming invoice sort of suggests that we're retrieving a individual invoice for the subscription, but not necessarily modifying it. So by saying preview invoice, I think that might increase like or add an affordance, which says that like we are previewing seems a little bit more like we're looking at a change, or we're like, yeah, we're sort of like reviewing a change to an existing invoice. So okay. I'm gonna take just a second here. Let's see. Okay. I am going to BRB. One sec. I need to create like a little screen or scene or something for like BRB. I'm stepping away. Okay. got coffee, got a little bit of a drink here. We're 30 minutes in. I think we're making pretty good progress, and we should be done, well before the hour. So thanks everyone for your time and attention. As always, feel free to drop messages in the chat. I think no matter where you're watching from, it'll flow through to StreamYard. We're using StreamYard today. All right, so what do we want to do? From the front end, we want to pass down, and we want to, like, when we're displaying the current price, we also want to, like, fetch step 4 is like fetch preview invoice. Okay, so I'm kind of wondering if we should break these out into functions. So like step 1 is like fetch config, right? And it returns this thing. And then we can break out step 2 into like fetch subscription, like fetch subscription. So that is step 2. We can return there. And then step 3 is display the current price. And step 4 is fetch the preview invoice. So yeah, so like I think yeah, so display current price, and then we have another function which is like fetch preview invoice, fetch invoice preview. And this will be preview invoice, and the data here is going to be the subscription ID and the new price ID, which is going to be like the opposite of whatever get current price name is. So gosh, okay, so let's see, const new price ID is equal to get current price name is equal to basic, then premium else basic. Okay, that's fine, sure. New price ID. All right, so fetch invoice preview. So this is step 4. I'm thinking we want to like just like set up how this all works. So we have step 1, which is fetch config. Step 2, which is fetch subscription, and then we have step 3, which is update the UI, and step 4, which is fetch the preview invoice. But yeah, so like, should I just drop it in here, or should we separate that all out? Yeah, so like I'm thinking we might want to just do something like this, where we say like fetch config dot then fetch subscription dot then fetch invoice preview. And then we can move this down here, fetch invoice preview. But should we move like the current price ID setting and stuff? Okay, so like I want to try to minimize the layers of abstraction. And so what I'm going to do is say fetch config, then fetch subscription, and then like within fetch subscription, we'll handle, this is like fetch invoice preview, just to keep it super simple, right? So like, yeah, fetch config, then fetch subscription. Okay. All right. So let's put these all the way at the very bottom. It's like Kickstart or like Bootstrap page. All right, so once we have fetched the invoice preview, we should have data.invoice here in the success. So I'm just going to refresh the page and make sure that we are getting back all that stuff, and we should be good to go. So we refresh the page, we're getting back current, and then are we getting the preview invoice? Looks like we are not. Do we need to restart this? I believe we do. Refresh the page. Okay, success. We got our invoice back. Okay, so within the invoice, within the previewed invoice, right? We should have a couple of objects here that we can look at the total and the difference. So the total here, $22.99, is because, why is that? Let's see. So in the invoice items, what did we end up with? Or the lines, right? So lines has three things. So we have the line items for the invoice reflect three things. So one is we are removing the $5. We are charging $13.99 as the remaining, and we added a line item at $14 per month, which is going to be the new line item for the upcoming invoice. Is that what we expect? Subscription proration date is right now 10/21. Okay, cool. Okay, and then what would we end up with our period, right? So the period start would go from right now through 11/21. So this is a month. This gives us a month starting now and through 21. So we have yes. Okay. All right. So that is 1 month worth of this change. Okay, so let's see. So, how do we want to display this? Okay, let's actually also look at this customer just in the dashboard just to see what's going on and make sure we're like looking at the right stuff, because I'm pretty sure this is where we wanted to make the change, but I'm not 100% confident this actually did what we want. So dashboard.stripe.com. And let's find this customer. Okay. And let's just double check what's going on here. So we've got this one customer that was created earlier today. And if we create an invoice, oh, come on. Okay, so if we're going to create an invoice for, what is our price? 14. Actually, yeah, maybe that's part of the problem here. Let's see. Cat and pipe. Okay, so this is the price ID that we're using. So let's make sure Stripe prices retrieve that price ID, and it is 14. Okay, so we should be, I wanted to grab the price ID. All right. No, can I just, okay. Why can't I find it that way? All right, we want the $14 one. Let's see. Items. Nope. This is not what I was expecting. Okay, so let's hit this upcoming invoice endpoint from the Stripe CLI. I'm basically just confused as to why the total is returned as $22.99, because the total should be removing this amount. So yeah, so it should only be these two line items. I don't know where this other line item is coming from. So we have these two invoice items, unused time, and then we have the remaining time, and that should be it. We shouldn't have like this other $14 thing. So let's why is that happening? I think it might be just okay, let's go back to the server and where we used to be deleting new price ID. So what this had before was delete true, and then it had another price in here. So let's restart the server. Oops. And refresh the page and see if doing it that way gives us back the does this give us back deleted true? If this gives us back the invoice we expect. Okay, $23. So yeah, this is not what I am expecting because we should be deleting those other line items. Yeah, what is going on there? Okay. So what am I not passing? I should be passing proration behavior prorate, right? Whoops, this is too big. Okay, so preview an upcoming invoice. And we have the subscription. We don't have any discounts, invoice items. The subscription items is what we're doing right now. So we're passing in the ID of the subscription item, the existing one, passing deleted, and then we're passing a new one with the new price. Okay, and then proration behavior. What is the default here? Okay, so passing create prorations will cause proration and invoice items. So in order to always invoice, okay. So what is the default? What is this? Resetting. Okay, let's pass it and say create. Let's see. Subscription proration behavior is create prorations. Here's our invoice. Our total is still $22.99. Why? When? Yeah. Okay. So, this is not working as expected. What's going on here? This is great. Does anybody see what I'm missing here? Maybe. Yeah. Okay. So we have two invoice items, and then we have the new subscription line item. Okay. So this subscription line item is what are the dates of this? So this ends. Oh, okay. So this subscription line item is through the end of December and is from November 21 through. Okay. So this is not actually charged right now. That subscription line item is for like the next recurring invoice, but these two are for the current period. Okay. All right. That makes more sense. Okay. All right. So let's see. So yeah, so if we actually made the change to the subscription right now, then we would have a different change than this total subscription line item with the subscription line item, because right now it's adding the sum of all of these, but these first two only count for the current month, and this last one is for the month after that. Okay. So I think that makes sense. So let's go take a look. Actually, let's take a look also at the old subscription use cases guide for fixed price and see what we were displaying when we returned these updated, the updated subscription or the preview. Prices, we pass in premium. Okay. So switch prices. Let's go find what switch prices does. That finds the current price, current subscription, current customer, change price selection. And that's all class stuff. Change the loading states, retrieve the upcoming invoice. So we pass in all this stuff, and then we get the current price subscribed by ID, capitalize the first letter, new price selected, and then the amount due. We're setting the amount due divided by 100. Next price start date is the next payment attempt. So on the upcoming invoice in the previous example, we were using amount due and next payment attempt. So amount due and next payment attempt. Amount due is $22.99 and the next payment attempt is $11.29. Yeah, so I think all right, let's fire up the old one just to see how it worked. Let's see, subscription use cases. Actually, we can just do Stripe samples, create that thing, and we'll use fixed price guide, vanilla.js, Ruby, bundle install. I need to stop that one. Okay, so what we're doing is pulling down a Stripe sample for the existing Stripe sample for billing, and I want to just confirm what that's doing. So this should be a new page. Come on. 404. This should be basic and premium. Ruby server. And let's see everything. Okay, so here's our thing. Kenny Rosen at example.com. We subscribe, and then we select our payment. Total due now is $5. Test in all of our card details. Subscribing. All right, change pricing plan. So if we select this one, then you will be charged $23 on 11/21/20. So this is wrong, right? Because we should only be charged $15 on 11/21/20. Yeah, so I think this is just like wrong in the old guide. And instead, we need to show just not the amount due, but let's see. So the invoice object amount due is going to be the final amount due for this invoice. If the invoice is total more smaller. Okay, if there's a positive starting balance, for the invoice, the amount due will also take that into account. Okay, so all right. So like this invoice item is not actually going to start, right, until later. So this is DF. Right, so 11/21 is when this invoice item starts. So that's not starting right away and is not actually going to be collected right away. So like what's actually being collected right away is only these two invoice items. So why is this showing like this? Okay, so we have that is the subscription item, SI7W. And the next subscription item, okay, is SI, okay, and then it's UAN. All right, so when we, okay, so paid is false. This is in a draft. The subtotal is that. The total discount amounts and total tax amounts is an empty list. So the period start and the period end for the invoice are those, and I think those should match the invoice items that we would expect. So if we look at the invoice items and their period start ends in 5/5. Okay, that's different than the overall total invoice. Okay, and yeah, unwinding this is a little bit tricky. Is a little bit tricky here. So the type of this is invoice item, and the type of this is subscription. So I think we want to filter out the invoice items and add those up. And just like, let's just add them all as individual line items on the view so that we're showing like an accurate subtotal of the change. So when we get this invoice, so invoice, yeah, line items is going to be data.invoice.lines.data filter, and is there a filter? JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript filter. I probably, yeah, wow, okay, array.prototype.filter. So this is a thing. All right, okay, dot filter. We only want to return if the i.type is invoice item, right? So those are the invoice line items that we care about. And let's console.log line items just to make sure that we're getting what we expect there. So we'll refresh the page. Nope. Okay, that's our current. We have two line items. One is this description unused time with that amount. And then the other description is remaining time and that amount. So let's show those in the preview. So we'll just add, like, underneath this premium thing, we'll add a div, or let's add a UL, and then we'll add to the UL line items for each of these. Okay. So in our change plan, down here, we can do like div, or actually, yeah, div is like invoice preview. And then we can have UL like invoice items. Okay, and then display invoice items. And we can call that from here. And it will simply create UL or LIs and dump them into this invoice items thing. In fact, let's do this. Invoice items list, invoice items. And then we want to create some LIs and drop them in there. So what do we want to do? We want to say like items.map function I, or for each or something. And what do we want to do here? We want to say invoice items list dot inner HTML plus equals, I don't know, like li. li And inside here, maybe we can just put, for now, we can just put i.description and see what that does. Okay, so we've got the description of each, and now maybe we can just put like the price I dot, what is it, amount divided by 100, and then maybe even like IDA currency, and let's see. So this would be the preview, sort of the preview that shows you like, okay, here's the 2 line items. We're removing that, we're adding that, and the total. So then we can add like yet another total thing down here. Const total equals 0. Total plus equals I dot amount. And down here, we can just put like total. Let's see. Okay, what is failing here? Oh, const total? Yeah, that has to be let. Okay. Cool. So the total would be $8.99, and that looks right. That totally looks right. So let's divide by 100, and then yeah, we can call that like a preview for an invoice, right? Maybe even like put this over here. We should probably put this like in a table or something. But this gives you the sense for how you might put some line items. Maybe we can make this like bold or something. And that shows you the invoice preview and what you would get if you select this button. But we are out of time. So I will come back and hang out and probably hack around on what it means to click that premium button in order to switch to that plan and how we like actually update the subscription. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for your attention. Really appreciate it. And we will